Hey, welcome to another episode of Wax Wednesday stuff I picked up. I picked up more stuff this week. Can you believe it? Yeesh, 3 more. We'll get to that here in a second. But first, notice I am wearing my River Jam t-shirt, my well-used River Jam t-shirt. I got to get a new one. Maybe I will this July the 4th at this year's River Jam. River Jam is a great initiative. I'm one of the organizing committee. It's a chance for us to give back, especially the artists who all donate their time, and they play for free on this beautiful Friday night right by the river at the Delta Fredericton. We raise money for a community-based project. It's just usually centered around music. This year, we're going to continue our efforts to help out the Charlotte Street Arts Center. The goal is to help them purchase some newer sound equipment that will benefit all artists in the area. So again, that's July the 4th at the Delta Fredericton. It's always a Friday night. You can stop by right after work. We've got like multiple stages going right up until close and an all-star jam at the end. It's a good time, and it's a fantastic night out. So anyway, we'll talk more about that coming up. Let's get back to, that was the business. Now the pleasure. Oh yeah, the pleasure. It's my pleasure to introduce you to this one. This is Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow. It's the first one I picked up this week. I got it at Backstreet Records, Backstreet Taz on Queen Street in Fredericton. A little background on Jeff Beck. He's a real guitarist. He got his start or his first time in prominence as a guitarist in the 60s when he joined the Yardbirds. He was the guy that took over the vacated role of lead guitarist that was left by Eric Clapton. And if you can believe that, who succeeded Jeff Beck in the Yardbirds to clean up the mess at the end? None other than Jimmy Page. What a lineage of guitar players. Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page, back to back to back. At the end, actually, fair to say, I think there was a period there where Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were both in the group together, but Jimmy Page played bass, I believe. But anyway, at the end of the band, the Yardbirds, they had some contractual obligations to clean up. And a little historical fun fact, Jimmy Page took an act up to Scandinavia called the New Yardbirds, and they would become none other than the mighty Led Zeppelin. So, anyway, that's it. I got a chance to talk to the bass player for the Yardbirds for many, many years, Chris Drasia, a few years ago. And I asked him what was his favorite of the 3 to play with. He said they were all fantastic in their own way, but nobody could match the creativity of a Jeff Beck. This is his 1975 release, Blow by Blow. It's a jazz fusion record. If you're into that sort of thing, I'm not a huge jazz fusion guy, but the playing is remarkable on this, no question about it. Produced by George Martin of Beatles fame. Another interesting note about this record, this particular pressing is a half-speed master. What that means, it's an audiophile pressing. I got a really good deal on this one. How that works is they took a new master and recorded it at half speed and used that plate to do a run of albums under the half-speed master series. The benefits, supposedly, it shows more separation between the instruments, which is important in this case. It's an instrumental album. Also, high frequencies are supposed to be a little more accentuated on a half-speed master as well. But, suffice to say, it is a great sounding record. All right, and Jeff Beck is just one of those fearless guitar heroes who plays every part of the instrument in a number of ways, from the fretboard and beyond. He's back when he first came up, he was, credited with being a pioneer of, not only playing with feedback and distortion, but being able to master it and use it as an extra tool in his bag of tricks. And he was a real shredder. He was the one that, a lot of people would come out just to see him play, because he had some really cool ideas with the instrument. Anyway, that's Jeff Beck's Blow by Blow. Pretty good record, if you like jazz fusion. Next up, man, I love this guy. And I was really happy to get this. This is his debut album, his being Matt Mays. When it came out in the early 2000s, it was just a CD release. So a few years ago, they ran off some vinyl copies, and this is one. It's his debut album. It's hard to believe I've been, listening to Matt Mays for well over 20 years now. But there was a time when he was a very big part of my life in terms of the radio station I was working for that had a great history of playing stuff from the region. We kind of broke Matt Mays. In fact, I've got a poster from his Wicked Come Winter 2005 tour. It's one of my prized possessions. I've got it mounted and laminated, and he wrote on the top, "Thanks for playing me first, Uncle Rob." What we would have played first would have been the City of Lakes song, which we were all over at the time. Man, that was such a great time. Where Am I Going is another single off this, but there's a lot of great stuff. It's prior to the El Torpedo days, so this is as a singer-songwriter as probably Matt has got in his career. He's put out stuff under his own name, but he's had fully formed bands backing them up. Notably the Coyote album of 2012 and Once Upon a Hell of a Time, which came out, I think, in 2018, right around there anyway. But yeah, he had a couple of great albums with El Torpedo. I'm a huge fan of Matt, period. He's just a fantastic live performer, and he's just one of our best. And I'm super happy to have this in the collection. A little added bonus to picking this up is a bonus 7-inch that includes the song Sometime Soon, Moving On, and City of Lakes as a B-side. So there, Matt Mays' debut album on Sonic Records. Love that. And one final one. Those were both picked up at Backstreet Taz. This one is another pickup from Maritime Vinyl Auctions. Remember when we was talking last week about how sometimes you can wait like 4 or 5 weeks to get your album? Now, this one, I'm pretty sure, I don't think it was 3 full weeks. I think it was maybe between 2 and 3 weeks. It came fairly quick anyway. It is The Jam's The Gift. What a great deal I got on this one, too. I think it was $11. This is the last album from the great UK band, The Jam. They kind of were more guilty by association than anything to that original UK punk scene of like 1977. These guys have been around for a couple of years prior to that. They did not just pick up their instruments. They were pretty seasoned players, for their age by the time the punk boom happened. But they did have that energy and that urgency to them. And, definitely Paul Weller could convey some legit anger from the stage, or at least frustrations, being a young man himself. But that's Paul Weller right there. He's the creative driving force behind the band, who had some great albums. This is their last album. From The Jam, Paul Weller would go on to form the Style Council and move more in that soulful direction. This is kind of a good bridge from The Jam to the Style Council, because it kind of incorporates those soul kind of touches that he would use more throughout the music he would make through the mid to the latter part of the 80s with the Style Council and into the 90s as a solo artist as well. But yeah, The Jam, not really a big act over here in England, where he wrote from a very particular UK perspective. He sang about what he knew, and that might have alienated some potential listeners on these shores, but it made him a hero in his homeland. So yeah, Paul Weller, a very important figure. Also in the band, worth noting, Bruce Foxton, who's the bass player, who just announced that he still tours with a version of The Jam. And that's all you could really say it is without Paul Weller. It's a version of The Jam. But he was an exciting ball of energy himself as a bass player, and able to grab incredible air as far as his stage jumps would go. And again, really helped in driving that rhythm home, along with Rick Butler, who's the drummer, who's got a fast pair of hands as well. And, together they were a wicked threesome. They were just incredible, a real force, and so young at the time, too. The last great moment for the band would be the single Town Called Malice, or at least in my opinion, and it is on here. Fantastic little Motown-style song that they did, and again, pointing the direction to where Paul Weller would go, post-jam. So those are my three this week. If you bought any albums, by all means, put them in the old comment section. Let's talk about them. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. I love buying records, and keep buying them because they make you happy. And remember, home is where your records are. So we'll talk to you in 7 days. Till then, cheerio.